Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video we're going to go through the week ahead analysis video. We're going to go through the news and some charts of interest for this week. So let's jump straight into the news, and I think in the US we're going to have quite an interesting week again. We've got lots of data out of the US, including CPI data. I think the CPI data is definitely going to be a big event for this week, considering the fact that forecasts are suggesting that we should see declines from 0.5% to 0.4% month on month, and a yearly decline from 6.4% to 6%, and also seeing the core CPI remain unchanged at 0.4%. Now, obviously, last week was quite a different sort of shift in the US. We saw early last week Federal Reserve Chairman Powell came and said some quite aggressively hawkish statements, saying that they're going to start potentially hiking rates at a faster pace. He then went back on his words a little bit the next day. That was then backed up by the NFP data coming in a little bit below sort of the expectations, which then helped kind of put the Federal Reserve back on track with keeping their rates at increasing by 25 basis points. This information here is going to be key now, because obviously consumer spending, consumer prices account for sort of the majority of overall inflation. So, if this comes in higher than expected, the pressure on the Fed could resume. So we need to see how this data comes out this week. And I think if we do see the misses, dollar weakness is going to continue. If, however, we see it coming above these expectations here, we could see some pressure put back on the Fed. Dollar could strengthen. We also obviously have PPI data and retail sales out as well this week. Again, key pieces of information, but both expected to come in a lot lower than previous. Okay, so definitely something to keep your eyes out on this week is that US data. We also have ECB data. We have the ECB hiking interest rates from 3% to 3.5%. ECB have been very vocal recently in terms of getting aggressive with rates. Core CPI, core inflation still remains fairly high, so they want to see that inflation rate come down. They're talking about the fact that inflation is sticky, so they want to try and keep hiking rates a little bit more aggressively than other central banks at the moment. So we'll see if in the press conference after, if President Lagarde comes and says anything different. Maybe she'll be less hawkish in the press conference. Maybe she'll be sticking to a similar hawkish tone. And if so, that could dictate what happens to the euro. Going on to the strength meter then, so we've actually seen some huge changes on the strength meter this week. The Aussie becomes the weakest currency, falling to the -6 reversal zone. We saw the dollar go from the +6s down to the 1s. So again, although we were suggesting that the dollar could remain strong, we pointed out the fact that the dollar was in this reversal area. And that actually worked out pretty well if you did follow the strength meter going into last week. Same with the yen. The yen was at -7 in that reversal zone. So was that going to potentially reverse? That was the biggest mover of last week. Yen pairs really something to focus on at the moment. And to be honest, a lot of our pairs on this watch list this week are all focusing on those yen pairs. So let's go take a look at some charts. First yen pair to watch is going to be dollar yen. Obviously the dollar falling on the strength meter, yen gaining strength. Could dollar yen continue to trade lower? We were targeting the 137.75 last week. Overall, the bigger picture, I still feel that dollar yen could still make a bigger move to the upside. However, we may just see some short-term pullbacks. Now, we are currently resting at a key area of support, which is the 134.50. If price, however, trades through that 134.50 handle, the next level of interest is going to be 132.75. However, because we've had such an aggressive downward move on Friday, we may actually see price start to come back to the upside this week. So I've also marked out sort of around about the 135.75 as well, which are all these sort of lows in here. And if price comes back into there, we may actually start seeing selling coming in at that point, which means that we may only see sort of a move back down to the 134.50 this week. Breaks above 135.75 I think would actually lead to a move back up to the 137.75 handle. So some different scenarios there. The yen looking really strong at the moment though, so pressure here on the dollar yen. Obviously that inflation data is going to be super important to which direction this market could go to next. Following on from that, we've got dollar Swiss. Now dollar Swiss obviously made quite an aggressive move to the downside. The Swiss franc in particular becoming quite strong, and we saw a price come up into the 9.425 handle. We then saw it reject and break through quite aggressively to the downside here. You know, you've gone from the 0.9425s all the way down into the 0.92. So, you know, you've got like a 200 pip move there. You can see that we're kind of trading within sort of this bullish channel here, and we've recently traded outside of that. So, you know, the momentum is definitely with the downside here on dollar Swiss. I've got the resistance marks in here at the 0.93 handle. If price was to trade back to there, we may see some selling begin from that point again. Although we are pretty close to support, which is the 0.9150. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning that is because we may see price continue to the support, find a bit of rejection, and then start pushing back. So the downside might be limited on dollar Swiss this week, you know, unless we get sort of a sharp pullback on Monday. So definitely something to consider there as well. Now moving on to a couple of yen pairs of interest then. So Aussie yen, the one to look at the moment, just because the Australian dollar is the weakest currency, yen the strongest currency. So downside to this market could continue. Again, the only thing I'd say here is the fact that, yes, we've found resistance at 92.50. Yes, we've broken through to the downside at 90.50, breaking these lows. But we are approaching key support around about the 88.50. So, you know, if I want to be a seller of this market, do I want to sell here? No, not particularly, okay, because I'm right in at this area here where buyers have been involved in the past. I want to see price trade back to the upside and come into an area of resistance before making any kind of decision on what the market could do next. So really speaking, I'm going to sit on my hands until price comes up to that 90.50 area of resistance. We could go straight through that. We could come up to the 92 handle as well. Some highs in here that could be tested, or even the 92.50 again could be an area of resistance for price. Going on to CAD yen then, I quite like CAD yen. It's got a lot of room to the downside. We have this sort of 92.50 level in here, which hasn't gone tested until sort of back in here in 2021. So I'm looking to see if price will come down into this point. We've got breaks of the 98.50 at the moment, which were all these lows in here, all these highs. We're back below that now. We came up into sort of around about the 101.50 or 101.30 sort of area, and we started to reject there. We've broken through minor trend line support as well. So again, one to watch really, because if we start seeing price climb higher, sellers might want to drive price back towards the lows at 95, or even a move down to that 92.50. Like I said, that's gone untested really. We broke through it sort of in March 2022. We haven't come back there yet to see a retest. So really looking to see if we can come back into this zone here, because if I was looking at volume profile, there'd be a big volume level running through this area. So there could be a potential for price to come down even lower towards 91. So something to consider there as well for CAD yen. Hope you enjoyed that video update. If you did, leave this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more Forex trading content. And I'll speak to you in the next video.